for today's cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And
Don't pinch anyone.
Don't be pinching people. No, don't be pinching people. How did that become a thing?
I don't know.
And just a quick search on St. Patrick's Day, that it is actually one of, if I can find it, I've got so many tabs open. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in more countries than any other national festival.
Really?
How cool is that?
That's cool. Wow.
Because anybody could be Irish for a day.
Yeah.
And to celebrate Irish customs and cool stuff and leprechauns and all that.
But I'm like, of all the holidays, why that one?
I don't know.
All over the place.
I
mean, I'm not complaining. That's cool, but it's like...
We should celebrate something every day.
Yeah.
I'm still upset that I missed Pie Day.
Missed Pie Day.
Yes.
There's National Cookie Day.
And this is how, as far as celebrating a celebration of other cultures.
And celebrating alarms.
Well, my alarm's stupid. I tried to turn off everything except that one. We used to celebrate different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And different things like that. And it was, you know. And by the recommendation of Robert Phoenix, we did watch a movie finally. And we did this right before St. Patrick's Day because I thought it was rather apropos on multiple levels. And maybe it was just a little bit of synchronicity on that.
When we say that we just watched it, we just watched it.
Yeah, because we saved this. We're trying to record early while it's still fresh on our minds and hearts. And it's called The Boy with Green Hair.
Yeah, it is.
And that it
was actually a really cool shade of green.
Yeah, it was a cool shade of green. And it featured a gentleman who was Pat O'Brien. Mm-hmm. A very famous Irish actor of his time.
Okay.
And they said that actually when he was just normally speaking, there was no discernible Irish accent.
Yeah.
But he could turn on the brogue when he needed to. Mm-hmm. And he certainly did in this movie.
Yep.
And it was wonderful. And it also had in it when he was a child, and I didn't realize this till I got to searching it, because I told Kid, I said, you know, the actor who played the child did a good job, and it was Dean Stockwell. And Dean Stockwell had been in stuff. He was a Hollywood staple for many, many years.
See, I don't know what movies he's been in.
Well, it was a little bit before your time. And as far as...
I've watched movies.
Quantum Leap... That was a very popular, that was before your time. It was from 1989 to 1993. Mm-hmm. So since you wasn't born till 99. But he was great in that. And I didn't realize that he had played Dr. Yui in the 1984 version of Dune. I'll have to go back and look at that, and I'm going, damn, because I have seen that many times. That's my favorite version.
Maybe I've seen it maybe twice. And I don't know who played what.
Fear is the mind killer. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. I mean, the books are great. The books are better than the movie. The books, you actually understand what's going on.
Right.
And I think that we got the Bene Gesserits that's controlling, trying to do the genetic manipulation on our planet today.
Yeah, yeah.
And possibly the terraforming. We don't know. The sandworms, they may be out there somewhere. They may be coming soon.
We got giant sandworms just lurking about in the deserts right now.
You never know. There actually were rumors of those.
Ooh.
There were rumors.
It's just that they're not worms. They're giant snakes.
I don't want to do those. I don't want it. And then the other one that surprised me, the lady that played the teacher, and I didn't recognize her because she was so young, and that was Miss Barbara Hale. And she played Della Street in Perry Mason. I am a huge Perry Mason fan. That and Columbo.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I would watch those shows at any time. Perry Mason was a staple. Mm-hmm. That and Davy Crockett, because we had 2 channels when I was growing up.
Two
Black
channels.
and white.
That was
Yeah.
it.
And then
That was
after a
it.
while, we got to 3 because we could get, and Dad had to go out and adjust the antenna, which was outside.
And then what? Dish came around?
Years
Satellite.
later.
Yeah.
Years later. See, this was just, it was a different world. And that was what I was telling Kid within this movie, The Boy with the Green Hair, which was made in 1948. And it was a totally different world.
It was.
And this is a very complex movie. And you got to realize that, and trying to explain to him the history on some of these things, because history is not being taught properly in the schools and stuff today. World War II ended in 1945. Mm-hmm. This movie was made in 48, so it's only 3 years behind.
Yeah.
And then as far as the Irish people and stuff, you had the potato famine, and you had a lot of Irish people come to America due to that, mm-hmm. and that was in the latter part of the 1800s.
Right.
And so trying to do a little bit of history lesson with Kid while watching this. Mm-hmm. And this child...
Much appreciated history lesson at that.
Well, it's one of those, I was blessed in the fact that I could explain it, and I hope I explained it properly. Mm-hmm. And you had this little kid that he shows up at this police station. It opens up, and this is a spoiler because I do want you to go watch it. Mm-hmm. But this is our take on the movie, so it is spoiler. You've got these cops hovering over Smile Child, who's maybe 8, 9, 10, somewhere through there.
Yeah.
And then expecting Kid to answer them. Yeah. No, that ain't how that works.
No, you're scaring the piss out of him.
Yeah. And they finally move away, and the kid is bald. Mm-hmm. Totally, completely bald.
Yep.
And it's like,
Egg.
why?
Egg.
And so this other gentleman enters the room, and he's a doctor. And so and the little boy doesn't want to talk to him. And
rightfully so.
He's like, well, I mean, yeah. Why would he? And so the kid hadn't eaten since the day before, and that the doctor had hamburger and shared his milkshake and stuff with the kid. And so the kid kept saying, you're not going to believe me. Nobody believes me. And the doctor's like, well, try me. And so he starts telling this incredible story. And the story was that he was a war orphan. Mm-hmm. Because there were lots of them. Yeah. And to explain to Kid how orphans used to be treated in this country years ago. Mm-hmm. Because there were lots of them. And how that, especially in the urban environments and stuff, they had orphanages. They were not always good.
No.
Children used to be treated in a totally different way.
Abused.
Yeah, a lot of times. Then a lot of them, you had the orphan trains that they would ship some of these kids to the Midwest, to where they ended up being basically slave labor. Mm-hmm. A lot of the farms and stuff like that. And their attitude was, yeah, you're living here, so you're going to work. And to expect these kids to work the same as adults. Now, I'm all for teaching children how to work. Mm-hmm. But you've got to balance that with play. Because play is a kid's work.
You do. Yes, it is.
And
but for some reason back years and years and years ago, I don't know why people viewed children as nuisances more so.
Right. Well, and that's weird because it's not like that in other cultures.
Even if they chose to have those children, they still viewed them as nuisances a lot of the time.
Sometimes. They did. And see, this is the thing I've never understood. children are a blessing from God, that God allows someone to be the vehicle for another human being to come on this plane of existence. That is a huge responsibility and a huge honor.
It is.
So I don't get that other people don't get that. But they don't. This movie was based on people not getting a lot of things that are so obvious.
Yeah. And for some reason, it was also put under comedy, and that was not a funny movie.
No, I did not see the comedic aspect of the movie at all. But anyhow, Kid had been shuffled from, relative to relative to relative, none of it working well, until he came to live with Pat O'Brien's character that they called Gramp, who had been a vaudevillian performer. And he loved the little boy.
He did.
And when the little boy got there, the little boy had it down, the routine. He's like, okay, tell me which rooms I'm not supposed to go into. Tell me which items I'm not supposed to touch. And Grandpa told him, he's like, this is your house. You can go in any room. The items here are made to be touched. And so to test him, there was a vase on a table that the kid bumped into it and almost broke it. And then he picks it up and he breaks it on purpose. And so Gramp came in and he's like, I knew I meant to move that item off that table anyhow.
Yeah.
And the little kid looked at him and he's like, I broke it on purpose. And Gramp just like, okay. And he cleaned it up and he went on.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like dealing with kids who have been abused and traumatized and everything like that. They do that. They do test people. It's like, I will make sure that you... it's almost like to prove somebody's love for them and acceptance for them. It's a very complex thing to work with people who have been traumatized. We've had years of it.
Yes.
And so...
Yes.
The little boy actually is sort of making friends at school and trying to do different things. And he wakes up one morning after he finds out that he is a war orphan, and I was explaining to the kid, it used to matter as far as, if a child was born out of wedlock, if their parents were divorced, that was huge. That was a big social stigma.
It was.
And now it's just like, okay.
But the thing is, there was a difference between being born out of wedlock and then having your parents killed. That was the difference.
Right.
And to be treated in a similar fashion, that's not a correct way to go about things. No,
it was a different world.
It's not a correct way to disrespect those children because it's not the children's fault.
And to explain to kid that during this process, this is another example of man's inhumanity to man.
I don't get it.
We don't get it. I've never understood. I can explain it, but as far as truly understanding why it is, I don't know. But anyhow, the little boy wakes up one morning after finding out his parents had been killed in London bombing. And his hair is bright green.
It was after he washed it with some sort of soap.
Yeah. But it's like Gramp had the love of his life had obviously worked. She'd been like a trapeze artist or an acrobat or something, and she had fallen and had died. And he had a plant in his home, and he said that she loved them, the loved plants, because no matter, they do always remind her of spring. And the wind was howling outside as they were talking. And so the little boy had gotten the plant and he had put it on the table between him and Gramp. And it had reminded Gramp also. He's like, I hear you howling out there. It's okay. I know spring will come anyhow. So there was possibility to that correlation between the green and the hair. And honestly, I'm wondering if the inspiration for the Willy Wonka Oompa Loompas did not come from this little boy. because the Oompa Loompas, Willy Wonka, the story behind them was that he had gone to this land where the Oompa Loompas lived, and that he had brought them to live with him because, was it the vicious canids or whatever it was eating them up?
Yeah, I think so.
And he had told them that they could come and live with him and they would be safe. So you've got to wonder if there wasn't a little crossover on that. But the little boy was freaking out, and sort of rightfully so, when his hair had turned green. Because 1940s, that was not a thing.
No.
And this little girl saw him, and she's like, that is the coolest thing. She loved it. She was fascinated.
Yeah. All the kids, at first, they loved it.
Right.
For the most part. Most of the kids.
And then, well, the older ones were already having trepidation. And then the adults start. Oh, they're afraid that it's contagious. Oh, they're afraid that the milk caused this. Oh, they're afraid that it was some kind of water contamination. And the fear, and how that fear spread out. It's like a virus. It's still like a virus. And to where that some of the older children had tried to cut the little boy's hair.
Tried to attack him, pin
they
him
did
down.
attack him. Yeah. But he had seen a vision in the woods. There were these posters of these other war orphans from different lands. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, is this a little bit of propaganda? And it probably was, but the message was still good. And that one of the war orphans, all these people from the poster appeared to him and told him that he was chosen, that he was special, and that because of his hair was green, he was supposed to speak that message of hope, just like the plant and the hope of spring. And for him to go and tell people that war hurts children. Of course it does. And so he was doing that, and he was telling the adults and all this stuff. And it got to the point where nobody would listen. And that even Gramps agreed that maybe it would be best if he had his hair cut. And so within some of this, you could see almost like a Christ-like figure, that the little boy just sat there and he was very submissive.
Mm-hmm. And
just
all the
a
other
single
kids,
tear.
All the other kids watched him from outside.
Yeah.
Adults watched him as he got his hair cut. Everybody watched.
And then,
it's like,
and then the barber to ask, oh, anybody want a piece as a souvenir?
Yeah, and then try to shift the blame, was like, well, it wasn't my idea. No,
right.
But you went along and executed it.
Absolutely. And we can see that as a backstory on some of the people that did what they did during World War II. Mm-hmm. I was only following orders. Mm-hmm. We can see this stuff going on today.
But you can tell for the most part, all of them felt bad afterwards.
Some of them. But it was only Gramps who actually apologized, and he said, I'm ashamed of myself.
Right, I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay,
He's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that even apologized to him.
Mm-hmm. And so the little boy had run away, and after he had finished telling his story, he looked at the doctor and he's like, do you believe me? And the doctor's like, nope. And it was, again, him speaking kid language. Mm-hmm. And the doctor goes across the room and opens up the door, and there is Gramps and the teacher and the doctor from the town waiting for him, because the doctor had driven Gramps and the teacher to get him.
But even then, they still didn't believe him.
At the end,
it
leaves it up to the viewer. Was this just a child's make-believe, or did this happen?
And I still don't think the adults got it.
They never do.
No.
They still don't. All these years later.
That pissed me off. It's because there was no good resolution at the end of it. No
because humans are still
it's like,
humans.
y'all, and they still didn't fucking get it. It's like, open your damn ears and heart and listen.
This is the same message that is being spoken today, and this movie needs to be seen lots more.
Yeah, it needs to.
How many times? And the opening
Have
song,
a good, faithful remake of it.
the opening song was great because the last two lines was basically that you're here to love and be loved. Yes. Mm-hmm. And what is within us as a species, that we are at war with ourselves between what we want to do and whatever that causes us so easily to be dragged into doing evil. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is, in Christianity, that is that sin nature. And are we hybrid beings, that is that beast part of us that still wants to war? I don't even think animals do some of the things that humans do. No. I don't know.
Well, if they find a weak one, they usually target that one, and that's...
Yeah. That othering. You're not like us. And I was telling Kid, I said the Irish went through it. I mean, the Native Americans went through it, even as far as the moon-eyed people, that they were in the Appalachian Mountains, according to legend, before the Cherokee wiped them out. Then as far as some of these other people coming in and doing all this stuff. So it's not just one group.
No.
But now the Irish, as far as indentured servants, they were thought less than the black people, because the black people they had paid for them. The Irish ones agreed to be, if they died, they just threw them out. Then you had as far as the Italians and all this stuff, and then you had the Irish mobs, and then you had the Italian mobs, and now you've got all these man's inhumanity to man. And does it ever stop?
It has to at some point. There has to be a turnover at some point, because it's just like watching the way that people would just stare at that child. Mm-hmm. For one, he didn't want that hair.
No.
He didn't choose to have that hair.
No.
And y'all want to shift blame and look at him like he's a fucking freak. Mm-hmm. And there that little redheaded boy in that class too, and he was the only redheaded one, and he got picked on.
Sure he did.
Even that one that tried to cut his hair got picked on for wearing glasses. It's like, you're having this be done to you. That does not mean or give you the right to do it to others.
Well, and it was just like in that movie.
You don't return evil for evil.
Right. That was the message of that. Love your enemies. Do good to those who wrongfully persecute you. You don't throw gasoline on a fire. And it's hard to love somebody once they have wronged you. It is hard to forgive somebody.
It was the fact that he didn't even do anything to those people.
No, he didn't do anything wrong. He was just different. But we have that. We've got this damn polarization.
If everybody's screaming, nobody's going to be listening.
Exactly.
But the thing is, people are so far up their ass, they don't want to listen.
Right.
They don't care. Some of them flat out don't care.
Right. Right.
They just want to hear themselves and be right.
Yeah. And it's just like we've got so many people that they can't hear the message that Yeshua spoke because they've heard it. It's been presented by people that didn't know him.
No.
By their fruits, you'll know them. If you in with something that has done wrong and is doing wrong and is judging other people, that's not of God.
No.
He tells us, judge not lest you be judged. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be judged.
Right.
And everybody's got their camps and everybody's got all their different standards flying. And can we just listen?
It's like, if you don't want to be judged, if you don't want to be ridiculed, if you don't want to be made fun of, if you don't want to be insulted, any of that, don't do it to others.
Right. And we do have a lot of
Respect
kids
others.
with green hair now.
Yeah, and it's fucking cool.
Some of it is. And a lot of people, I hear them, the ones that don't have green hair, and they're looking at stuff that the green-haired kids are doing, go and talk to some of them.
Yeah. But it's some of those that are so... They're beat down by their families, restricted by their families.
They feel unloved, unwanted, unheard. They feel lost.
They feel lost. They feel unheard. All of that. They feel misunderstood. And so they are doing that to others.
Sure. That's where you get into the Stanford prison experiment type stuff. Yeah. And the ones that's supposedly on the conservative side, now you talk about up their own asses. I'm right. I am superior. My life is working. Is it really? Job thought that until the shit hit the fan with him.
Yeah.
Don't be too sure. Because we've had the rug pulled out from under us over and over and over again. And you pick yourself back up.
Mm-hmm.
But to learn from that experience, we have talked to people who are homeless. We work with inmates. All these things. And it's a matter of not telling them what they're doing wrong. It's a matter of listening to them. And so this little green-haired boy, or the boy with green hair, he wasn't heard in the 40s. He's not being heard in 2024.
No.
How do we fix that?
God.
That, and like Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see. If you want to be heard, listen to other people.
Yep.
But I can see other change. And the fact that kid sat there and he was appalled. And he was highly escalated. He's like, I don't understand. And then to pause.
I was pissed. I was rank pissed.
To pause and tell him, because that's not that long ago. That's not even been 100 years.
No, and I get that. And I'm like, it's so foreign to me to see people so needlessly mean.
Yeah.
And judgmental. It never made sense to me.
No.
And it pisses me off. It's like, take the fucking thorn out of your own eye before you try to pull a plank out of mine, or whatever.
Right.
What was it? Pull a plank out of your own eye before you try to pull a thorn out of someone else?
Well,
Splinter.
The speck, yeah. Take the plank out of your own eye before you try to remove the splinter from your brother's.
It's like, mind your own business. Stay in your own fucking lane.
Mm-hmm. See about your own shortcomings.
If deep down that little creative part of you has been so just shoved under there that you're starting to judge other people for doing shit that you want to do, how about you start doing it?
Mm-hmm.
That's, at the end of the day, people feeling so beat down that they don't feel like that they can do whatever, and so they start doing that to others, and they don't understand it, they don't get it.
Sure. That's like the documentary that was called Bully, and the little kid that was bullied, and him at the end, he's like, makes me want to be the bully. And this is what happens, because hate can cause other hate.
It's a snowball effect.
Until an individual, as an individual, you have to say, no.
Yeah.
Stop.
It's a snowball
It
effect.
stops with me. The cycle stops here.
Yeah.
And that has to be a conscious decision.
At a certain time and part, that the rolling ball of snow has to hit a wall.
Mm-hmm. What happened to turn the other cheek?
Or a tree or something.
Now,
Right.
within that, there was a whole tradition on that. He wasn't saying let somebody beat you up.
Yeah,
it was a matter of backhanding somebody versus a front slap, and that was a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you slapped a good bitch slap type thing, that was to an equal. If you backhanded somebody, that was to somebody you thought less than. Right. So that was what Christ was saying. He's like, no, if they going to slap you, you make them do it as if you were an equal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, there's so many things that have been misinterpreted. The message was simple. Treat other people like you want to be treated. That you are loved. You are worthy of being loved. That your sins are forgiven. Find out what you did, why you did it, that it didn't work, that you don't have to go back and do it again. Have support system. That's it. That's the message. Mm-hmm. And there'd be somebody, you're being too simplistic. Yes. Because I'm a simple person, and it's a matter of, this is my relationship with God. He dumbs it down for me. Now, I can actually, if you want to go into as far as some of the hardcore stuff, I've done this for years. I've studied for years. Mm-hmm. But that's the basis of it. And I have been the target of a lot of anger and a lot of hate. Part of it, that's my chart. Robert can attest to that. That I can just show up and people get mad at me. I don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. Because it's something that triggers. It's nothing I do. But it is that to allow yourself to be targeted so that somebody can get that anger out. You do that in counseling a lot. Because once that's out and it's diffused, they're not going to go out and do something worse to somebody else.
Right. Right.
But
some shit.
The boy with the green hair, it's a message for today. For St. Patrick's Day and the day after. And shout it from the rooftops. Uh-huh. I'm a
freak and I love it.
You are loved, and you can love and to be loved.
What was that SpongeBob thing? I'm ugly and I'm proud. I am ugly and I'm proud.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be mine when we get it's like, I'm old and I'm proud. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You should be. Listen, aging is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. I've lived. I ain't gonna be one of these Madonna type things.
Someone said that Gen Z was aging like milk.
Oh, that's not. It's the stress. It's the stress. And I pray for y'all. God, I'll pray for y'all and those little alphas and stuff like that. And prayer does change things. It does.
It does. It really does.
Vibration, frequency, the power of words and intention. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So.
It matters.
Any final synopsis on the boy with the green hair?
Judge not, lest you be judged.
Yeah. Listen to kids. Mm-hmm. Sit beside them.
You can learn a lot from the kids.
Sit beside them. Don't tower over them.
And a lot of the time, the kids are sort of there to teach the adults as well.
Yep. Indeed. I learned that a long time ago. Yep. It's not like, just because you're bigger does not mean you have all the answers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, if you've had experiences with paranormal or supernatural encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, if you would like to share as far as what your thoughts about this movie, if you've seen it, The Boy with Green Hair, I rented it off of Amazon. It was like, I don't know, $3 or $4. It was worth it. Mm-hmm. It was very much worth it. Thank you, Robert, for the suggestion.
Yeah, it was a good, it upsetted me. It upsetted me. But it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I'm going to have to watch it again.
He has a Gen Z, too. It's a Pisces. So I think it's a
what part
kindred
of Gen
spirit.
Z? Like 99 Gen Z or 98?
I think you're older than his son.
Okay.
Just by a few years.
Okay.
But he understands the Pisces. And that unconditional love that is part of your all's sign. And it's a struggle right now for you all. It is a true struggle. So pray for these folks. And you can email us cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. It's there in the description box.
And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that notification button for daily notifications for daily uploads. Thank you all. Have a good. Watch the movie.
Know that you're loved.
And
yeah, that's it. No, if everybody woke up each morning with the understanding that they were loved and created for purpose, how different would our world be?
Right.
Because
it'd be a lot different.
You are loved. You were created from love. You do have purpose. And Lord willing, we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.